Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, good. We can hear each other
Yeah, what do
already.
you know? We're just missing being photobombed by your cat.
Right? I just pushed them off.
Oh, mine's gone. Mine was in the window a minute ago. So, all right, now down to business, I guess. Tell me a little bit about when you went to your tech school. So you were a fueler, basically.
Yep. You know, 1391 bulk fuel and went to Fort Lee, Virginia.
My home. I'm from there.
Are you really?
I'm from
Oh
Richmond.
man. Okay.
Yeah, I'm from. I was raised in Richmond.
Oh wow, that's like right down the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Wow, cool. That's a beautiful area, especially like Battlefield Park and all that stuff. Wow.
It's too many people.
Yeah, true. I remember we left the base one time and went into Richmond, and we passed like the Levi's factory, and there was I think Philip Morris on one side of the highway.
Yeah,
Those buildings were just humongous.
yeah.
Yeah.
My whole family worked there, Philip Morris.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah. My whole family, both sides, pretty much all of them worked at Philip Morris.
Wow. Wow. That's a that's a big company.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um. Yeah, basically when I went to MOS school, our company gunny, which was like company command was our company commander. He was a ex drill instructor that thought he was still a drill instructor or wishes he was still a drill instructor.
yeah,
So that's how he treated us, right? So we were kind of like still being in boot camp, but then after school was out, we got to do whatever we wanted to.
yeah,
It wasn't like boot camp where you were stuck. So he wouldn't make us still do stuff like push-ups and you know for if we weren't doing something as fast as we should be, or if the way he wanted us to do it, or if we were doing something we weren't supposed to be doing, make us do physical training, just like we did in boot camp. But the school itself, the first 2 weeks of school, you got off at one school where you were in a classroom doing book work and listening to lectures, right?
yeah.
And then the 4 weeks after that, you were like out in the field learning on the actual equipment you were going to be using and sitting in bleachers and then getting to do some hands-on stuff. And when you went to the first 2 weeks you're going, the guys that had been where you're at already stayed on the bus and kept going to where they were going. And when you were like the new guys, and when you were getting off the bus, they were saying, "What kind of bees don't fly?" And they go, "Newbies." So we were newbies for the first 2 weeks, you
Yeah.
know, and so it was a lot different. It was nothing like going to high school or nothing like boot camp really, because you had your freedom to be who you were, and
Somewhat.
somewhat, yeah, somewhat to a point, yeah, to a point. And we still had physical training 3 days a week in the morning before we went to school.
You were a Marine. Y'all didn't do it 5 days a week or 7 days a
Yeah,
week. What's up with that?
if you
Y'all,
wanted to on
y'all,
your own, if you wanted to,
y'all
but
acting like Air Force.
right. And then on Fridays we'd run through Battlefield Park, like through Battlefield Park, through in the trees and all that stuff. We
Yeah,
didn't stay on the road, or yeah. And then a couple times, one Friday, they said we're gonna run all the way through Battlefield Park. We're gonna run 10 miles, and run all the way through, and then come all the way back. But we're running at our own pace. We're not gonna run in formation. and our company gunny, he had gotten surgery on both of his Achilles tendons,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and he could barely walk. And he was trying to run this 10 miles, and but it was like a little trot, barely moving. So, that's how hardcore this guy was, because, I can't imagine the pain he was going through,
You know,
you know?
that's that Marine mentality, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's that. It's detrimental to a point, but
Yeah.
also it's kind of admirable that somebody is that hardcore and believe in what they're doing and
Right.
wants to represent the Corps that way, and wants to not to ask his troops to do anything that he wouldn't do himself.
Right.
No,
Right.
and to me, there's some stupidity there, but there's also some admiration
Right.
for that, because
Right.
that's what we miss out here. Let's be
Yeah.
realistic.
Yep.
That's what I miss about the military more than anything else, is that the bosses and the people they're telling you to do stuff, but they're not willing to do what it takes to get the job done themselves.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's one of the biggest problems I have now with being out, is not people not having. I mean, even in the Air Force, most people would not ask their troops to do anything that they're not willing to do themselves,
Right.
and that's just not out here.
Yeah.
It's not, and I think that you would have a lot better workers if the supervisors behave that way.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Well,
Kind of the leadership by example.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and that I think we keep that. Most
Yeah.
most veterans I know, military veterans, we keep that with us. We still have that mentality. Not all,
Yeah.
but a lot do. And I think and that comes back to bite us in the ass sometimes too, because the boss will come up and go, "You're not supposed to be doing that. That's what they're supposed to be doing."
Right.
And
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're supposed to be doing this instead of doing this, and yeah.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
and people get insecure. Civilians get insecure about that kind of stuff. It's kind of funny, because people really, supervisors really, I made the mistake one time of telling my boss when I got out. It was like I made the mistake one time of saying, he's like, "Well, where do you want to be?" I said, "I want your job." And he treated me different ever since that, because he was worried that I was going to
Take his
take
job.
his job. Where we're taught, you train your replacement.
Right. Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
taught that out here.
Yeah, and like I worked for the city for 14 years, and they wanted you to go to school, and so you can move up. But then for the management jobs, they always went outside the company and hired people from other places to be managers, which kind of left you without any place to go,
Well, they hired their buddies or their buddies'
Yeah.
buddies or something
Right.
along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that drives me crazy with this, is like, why are you going to, that's one of the things we struggle with. That's one of the things I struggled with when I got out, because the company I was working for, it was all about their friends. Everybody in any position was either the owner's kids or one of their kids' friends,
Oh man.
or somebody that they have known, that
Right.
they came up with in the industry, and they knew the industry, don't get me wrong,
Right.
but everybody that was in a leadership position there had known somebody to get in that position.
Right.
I'm not saying they didn't deserve it. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that if they hadn't have known them, they would have never gotten that position.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that drives me crazy out here.
Yeah.
I always tell people, it's just like, we have to manage our expectations when it comes to stuff when we get out, because it's not based on your ability anymore. It's based on who you know.
Right.
I don't know if you ever run into that, but I run into that a lot.
Yeah. And then you're not necessarily getting somebody that is going to have the ability to do that job the way they should be able to do that job.
And what do? They don't come out and lead by example because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right. Yeah. And that's when you start getting people that are bad managers and yell at the people or, do things that they shouldn't be doing. They think they're disciplining their employees, but they're just pushing them away,
It's kind of funny how you told the joke about what kind of bees don't fly, newbies. It's kind of funny
Yeah.
to think about how much of the stuff that we have sticks with us that we remember this stuff.
Right.
I mean, because I was talking to a client one day and I was talking to his wife. I was doing couples counseling, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking to his wife and I was doing this. Okay.
Right.
And she
Yeah.
goes, "Oh crap." No, she said, "Oh shit. He's brought up the knife hand. I'm done." I didn't even realize
Right.
that I was doing it.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. You get and are pointing at somebody and you're going like this, pointing at
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
And, I taught the tech school for 4 years. So,
Yeah.
I still got some of those little quirks in me because,
Right.
I got them just as soon as they got their basic training. I got them to
Yeah.
teach them their MOS or an Air Force AFSC. And, I was kind of like a mini drill instructor, I guess,
Okay.
because I wasn't that hardcore guy like you had, but I was more
Yeah.
along the lines of this is your job and this is how you do it matter of factly about them, and you couldn't you had to keep that military bearing with them.
Right.
Because once you get out and you get into the real world, the real Air Force, the real Corps or whatever, you get out, it's not the same. It's different.
Right. Then when you're done with school, then you're going. It's like a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But where was your first assignment at?
First assignment. I went to Okinawa, Japan.
Okay.
Yep. I went to Camp Hansen in Okinawa. I was there for like 6 months, and then I went to MCAS Fatima in Okinawa, and I was there for about 5 months. And because I went over there on a ship, I volunteered. They were looking for people to go over on a ship, so I went over to Okinawa on a ship, and they took off a month of my overseas time for going over on a ship. And so I went to Camp Hansen, and we were like, it was like we were working with like the infantry and all that, putting up sites for refueling, actually refueling like the light armor vehicles and all the other vehicles and helicopters. So we'd have two different kinds. We'd have diesel fuel and JP4, and we were setting up. When we go out to the field, we'd be out in the field, and the infantry would be doing their maneuvers, and we'd be out there like supporting them. But it'd be just like if we were going to war, because everything you'd have guard duty, and at night everything was pitch black, and you'd be walking down this dirt road down a hill, and you'd look in front of you and you go, what in the heck is that? And you get a little closer, and there's an infantry guy, one guy on his stomach with the rifle, the other one behind him is kneeling, and the one behind him is standing, and it looked like one, almost like the size of one person, because they were totally lined up.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, that was pretty cool, because you didn't know what they were until you got real close to them, and you're just like, actually that's kind of scary that you actually got that close to them before you knew what it was, but
So did you get the infantry training in the Corps besides your basic?
we went out in the field a couple times and did like we were infantry and got training that way. and did
Plate
and had
infantry.
what's that?
Plate infantry.
Plate infantry. Yeah. And we'd dig our foxholes and have our whole perimeter set up and everything. And at night, people were trying to sneak up on us and trying to, you know, take over our camp and stuff. And it's kind of funny that, you know, how, I don't know, when you were in, when people, they put starch in their camis and ironed them
Yeah.
at night when the moon was out, that person with those starch camis glowed like the moon. You can see him coming from like 100 yards away. And yeah, and we even actually had our first sergeant came in the middle of the night and tried to sneak up on our camp, and we had Miles gear, and we lit him up with Miles gear, and and we had one guy that had the 50 cal, the big 50 cal where you take the take the barrel off. One guy's carrying the barrel and the other guy's carrying the rest of it, and you hear that thing go off. You know, you can't mistake a 50 cal going off.
Yeah, I know. I shot one off of a Hummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Us Air Force guys, we don't get the pleasure to play with that kind of stuff very often, but I got lucky to shoot one off of a Hummer
Right.
over in the desert when I was over there.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Fatima, we were just waiting for helicopters and jets to come in and run out and refuel those. So I was like totally different animal from Camp Hansen to Fatima.
Because I always thought Marines were Marines first and their MOS second. I never saw that. Well, actually, I did have a Marine that was a drone mechanic, and he basically had a job, you know. But most Marines I've worked with, they had their MOS, but they were basically, you know, Marine infantry first,
right?
You know, and then they had their MOSs that they would do when they weren't out in the field playing war.
Right.
You know, you're only the second Marine I've talked to that's actually had a MOS that didn't require you to be a full-blown infantry trained killing machine, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah. Man. And you know, and when we was at Camp Hansen too, other thing I remember was we'd have like not a company commander, but he'd be like you know, head of the platoon, like he'd be a corporal or a sergeant, and we would do like knowledge training like twice a week. Where he'd go through and he'd ask us questions and we'd have to give him answers from the, you know, Marine Corps, we called our knowledge book, and it taught everything about the Marine Corps in that book, you know. And so he would do classes and then he would like ask us questions, you know. And then when we went to the air wing, you never did any of that stuff. And you did PT on your own, you know.
So when you were in the air wing, you were just like Air Force. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's how we are. You know.
Okay.
That's how we were. You know, we were like, well, okay. You're required to go to the gym 3 times a week. So just, you know, you go sign in and do your thing, and then, you know, an hour and then sign out and leave. So what do we used to do? We used to go sign in, go get breakfast, and come back and sign out.
Oh man, that's funny. Oh man.
Us Air Force guys, yeah, we're the fighting machine, buddy.
Yeah. Well, when I was at Fatima too, we were recirculating the fuel every morning and then doing the fuel tests. Yeah. And then we send samples to the fuel farm where there was a Navy chief that was conducting tests on the fuel too. Yeah, like double checking to make sure we did our job right. And
yeah, you know, it's interesting because I understand everything what you're saying, because in the Air Force I was a fuel truck mechanic.
Okay.
So I basically understand everything that you dealt with, because I mean, JP4, I know how flammable
Yeah.
because that's what we used until they switched over to JP8,
Okay.
and they switched over JP8 about my last 5 or 6 years in.
Wow.
It was JP4 most of my time in, and of course that stuff is flammable as hell.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the flash point is like minus 30. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy.
Pretty high. It's high. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's kind of funny how we're in two different branches of the military, but we kind of did the same thing. Because
Yeah.
the bladders and all the stuff that we use to hold the fuel. I mean, let's be realistic. With that JP4, that was like an explosion waiting to happen. I mean,
Right.
we'll get into more about Desert Storm later because we can definitely have a conversation.
I have stories about JP4 when we were in Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yep. And man, I don't want to get into it now. I want to save that because that's a whole talk in itself. Some of the crazy shit we did over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the stuff we got away with.
Nobody was checking. There was no OSHA. Nobody was.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
even in Okinawa, we were cleaning our gear at Camp Hansen. We cleaned our gear after going out to the field, and you had fuel all over you.
Yeah.
And you're scrubbing it down with a scrub brush and soap and cleaning all your gear, but and putting it back in the boxes.
My wife complained every night that I came home smelling like jet fuel, and I'm like, "What? I don't smell anything."
Right? Yeah.
People would walk in the shop and go, "How do you work in here?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't smell anything.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
If I smelled it, it was bad.
Right. And then, how much did you have on your boots and then that you got on your feet and
Yeah. So Wilbur, did you have another assignment after that, or was that your?
Oh, I went to Okinawa for 11 months, for a year. And then I came back and was at MCIS Tustin in California. And, which was basically my duty station was El Toro, but they sent me to Tustin, and I was at Tustin from 89 to 91. Basically that was my duty station while we went to Desert Storm. And I was when I first went, I was at the MWSS 374, Marine Wing Support Squadron 374. And we did like going out to the field and stuff, but they only went to the field like every 6 months. And the rest of the time you're fixing gear or cleaning gear, just doing stuff to keep you busy. So I was there for about a year. And then they sent me since I did it in Okinawa at Fatima, they sent me to the refueling station. And so I went back to doing refueling helicopters. It was a helicopter base.
Yeah.
And refueling helicopters all the time. And that was day on, day off. And because you worked from like 6 a.m. till 11 o'clock at night. And then you had the next day off. And every other weekend was a 3-day weekend. Because one week you work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then a Saturday or a Sunday, either one. And then the next week you'd work Tuesday, Thursday, and then you get a 3-day weekend and come back on the next Monday.
You know what? Other Marines are going to hear this and they're going to go, "He's not a damn Marine."
I know, right? Oh, and then 2 people every night, 2 people would have to stay until 6 o'clock the next morning, and they'd get up and do the fuel checks in the morning before the next crew got there. But yeah, that was a nice job.
Other Marines are going to hear this and go, "He's not a damn Marine. He's definitely one of those Hollywood Marines."
Yeah.
I can hear him now.
Right. Yeah, that was an excellent, very cushy job. But, and again, when I was there, I would go up on all the boards and meritorious mass boards and stuff. And I actually one time went on to the Marine of the Month board and won that. So I was Marine for 1 month for the base.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every time you go on a board, you're making more points towards promotion.
Yeah.
And I was in E4, and all the guys that I was in at the same time with, that I were friends with and everything, I ended up being in charge of them. But when they got out after 4 years, they were still not promoted because they didn't do any of that stuff.
That's a hard thing that's one of the things that is hard with the military is, when you have been working with people and then you get promoted and you get in charge of them, you were
Yeah.
peers, and now all of a sudden you're their boss.
Right?
That's one of the hardest things to deal with in the military.
Yeah.
That's one of the few flaws I see in the way the military does business.
Yeah.
I really think that they should, and a lot of times it does happen to where once you make rank, they move you to another duty station.
Yeah.
Once you make rank, so you're not put in that position.
Yeah.
Because that's really hard to do that because your friends and they're your coworkers and they're your friends. You always work together, but you're not really in the position to tell them what to do. And then you start telling them what they have to do, and they're like, "Why are you an asshole now? Or
Right?
why are you?
Yeah.
You've changed. You're not that same person. You're not. But when you go into another place with that rank, you can say, okay, here's the way things are going to be.
Right? Right?
You know,
You're going in, they don't know you with anything else but being in charge,
right?
where you were like basically living with these other guys and doing everything with them all the time, even when you're not at work. And then you're trying to tell them what to do, and they're like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's one of the downfalls of that. And that's one of the few things that I struggle with when I would make rank. It was
Yeah.
like I always wanted to go somewhere else when I made rank because I didn't want people to think I was an asshole.
Right.
But when you start all over again, you can go in and be that asshole that you need to be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can go in and set it straight from the beginning.
Yeah.
But the best way I learned to deal with that, though, is I did learn to deal with it, is when I made rank and I was put in charge of the people I were my peers.
Yeah.
I used to grab them aside and I used to sit there and go, you know what? If I'm an asshole, it's because you made me be one. So don't make me be one.
Right.
Because they know what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed
Right.
to do.
Yeah. Yep. That's another thing that I see it in the same thing that you see them doing when you were in charge of them, and they're trying to get away with stuff because they think, oh, we're friends and I don't have
Right.
to do this. And the kid where I'm teaching at school, even like second grade kids, they're already trying to do the same stuff that they see them doing as adults. It's interesting to see them. They're already getting these habits, I guess, or these personalities, I guess, the way they want to do things. They're already getting it as, even like 2 year or second grade, they're already doing the stuff that you're going to see them doing as an adult. I don't know if they get it from their parents or what, but
Well, we haven't discussed your job yet. We'll discuss that as we get out. Once we get into start time, we're getting out. But
okay.
it's just one of those things where and you've got a pretty interesting story. I'll be glad we get into that. That's a pretty interesting story how you got to where you are.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, actually, this is I started back to school, started getting my bachelor's in 2011, and now I have 2 master's degrees 10 years later. And shoot, when I started my bachelor's, I was hoping I would be able to finish to get my bachelor's. That's all I was concentrating on, was finishing school. Even from the beginning, I was like, just got to go, no matter what happens, got to do my work, got to go to school and finish this, and I never thought I would have 1 master's degree, let alone 2 master's degrees,
When I heard you were going, when I heard you were going for your second one, I remember asking myself, is he crazy?
Right. And then this, and then the school, the one for being a teacher, I went for like 6 months, no, 5 months with no pay, volunteer my time to student teach,
Yeah, that's called paying your dues. And
Yep.
we
Yeah.
all, yep,
Yeah.
yep. All right, so we'll call it quits for now. And next week, if you will, if you can do it, we'll talk a little bit we'll get into Desert Storm and get into that a little
Okay.
bit
All right.
next time. Just want to,
Yeah.
because people think I'm crazy when I say that was some actually fun times when you
Yeah.
look back at it.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun getting bombed, but it was what you could get away with.
Right. Yeah. And actually, man, it was like that war, they did it was like by the book,
Yep.
and it just, they couldn't have had a better outcome of that,
Can you believe that was 30 years ago?
I know, right? I can't believe it.
I know. We're old, my friend. We're old.
Yeah. Actually, somebody gave me, I have Desert Storm trading cards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A whole stack of them.
I didn't have any of those, but I do have this.
Oh, he going to get some. Oh, look at that. You still got your cover. You
Yep.
still got your hat. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
The
Look at
chocolate
that.
chip version, too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Too cool.
Okay. All right. Thanks for doing this again. I really appreciate
Sure.
it.
No problem. All right.
I'll
Thanks
talk to you next week.
All right.